All right, we're going to divide some integers. Again, I want to remind you an integer is a whole number that is either negative or positive, and including 0. And when we are dividing, we have a couple of notations. So I'll take example 16 divided by 2 would be the exact same thing if I wrote it like this, as a fraction, 16 divided by 2. Actually, the division symbol is a fraction. You have a dot, then the line, then another dot underneath. Either way, the result is going to give you a positive 8. Now, when we talk about dividing numbers out, we refer to the result of that is called a quotient. There we go. All right, now there's 4 basic rules when it comes to this. And we're specifying integers. These rules apply actually to any values, but integers implies that we're going to include negative values. So our first one is going to be a positive number divided by another positive number is going to give me a positive number overall. Rule 2 is a positive number divided by a negative number. That overall result is going to give me a negative number. Rule number 3, a negative value, negative number over a positive number is going to overall result in a negative number. And rule number 4 is if I'm dividing 2 negative numbers, my result is going to be a positive. It's the same rules as multiplying. Same signs are going to give you a positive value. Different signs will give you an opposite value. Just a quick note when you get to fractions. Later in the semester, you may end up with fractions, and you may have an answer that is something like this, like a negative 2 over a positive 5. You could rewrite that because of rules 2 and 3 as 2 over negative 5. This is the exact same value. And overall, if I wanted to, I could rewrite this as negative 2/5. And again, the reasoning is because of rules 2 and 3 make them exactly the same. They both result in a negative value. All right, let's do some examples using our rules here. We're going to start out with 45 divided by 5. Now, please note, I know that you know that the answer is 9, but I want you to note that I have a positive value divided by a positive value, which results in a positive answer, 9 in this case. Number 2, we're going to use rule number 2. I'm going to do 14 divided by negative 2. And notice I'm using both notations. I have the fractional one as well as the division one. Either way, I have a positive divided by a negative. It's going to result in a negative overall value, negative 7 in this case. Next up, so I'm going to go negative 14 over or divided by 2. And again, using rule number 3 in this case, I have negative over a positive. The overall result is going to give me a negative value. In this case, negative 7. Lastly, I'm going to go negative 45, use the division symbol, divided by negative 5. And again, note, I'm going a negative divided by a negative. That overall result is going to be positive, in this case, a positive 9. All right, let's do one with using order of operations. So let's go negative 60 divided by 10 divided by negative 3. All right. So order of operations says to take care of parentheses first, but there's nothing to do inside the set of parentheses with the negative 3. There's no exponents, so that leaves multiply and divide. So I'm going to divide from left to right. So negative 60 divided by positive 10 is going to give me a negative 6 divided by negative 3. Sometimes it'll have the parentheses, sometimes it won't. Using rule number 4, I now have a negative divided by a negative, which is going to give me a positive, in this case a positive 2. All right, I got a few rules I would like to show you. The first rule is going to be A over A Anything divided by itself is always just going to be 1. Now in this case we're assuming that a is not 0. We'll get to that. Next rule, a divided by 1 is equal to a. This will be very handy, and we'll use the 1 when we get to fractions. Third rule, 0 divided by a is equal to 0. Last rule is the weird one. Anything divided by 0 is undefined. It's not equal to a number. Your teacher will have to explain to you why that is in person, but there's nothing that when you divide by 0 will give you an actual number as a result. It's impossible to do. In fact, dividing by 0 is something that is really bad that happens in higher mathematics and physics and things like that. We have to account for making sure that that doesn't happen. Let's do an example of each. I'm going to do -5 divided by -5. And using rule number 4 above, I have a negative over a negative. That's going to give me a positive. But using rule number 1 of the rules that we just went through, a over a, the answer is going to exactly equal 1. That's no problem. Next up, let's do -100 divided by 1. Using rule number 2 to the left there, I have a negative over a positive, which is going to give me a negative, just -100. Next up, let's do 0 divided by -5. 0 divided by anything is going to give me 0. Anything, I can't divide by 0 ever, but yes, anything other than 0. And last up is the weird rule. I'm going to do, we'll get some crazy number. Let's do -795 divided by 0. Now this is bad. We cannot divide by 0, and that will become more and more of an issue as we go further into this and as you get into some of the higher algebras. This result is undefined. And that is dividing integers. All right, we're going to